This video is supported by Golden Era Muscle. Please visit goldeneramuscle.com for training information and supplements. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'm going to talk about Frank Zane's ideas in regards to calf training. Now this follows from yesterday's video on the importance of having balance between thigh and calf development. Now in Frank's opinion, calves are the focal point of the lower body, and I believe these back shots of Frank Zane really do explain why. Visually we can clearly see, obviously when we look at the upper body, his wide lats, beautifully thick back, lower back, everything, shoulders, arms, everything looks fantastic. But when we look at the lower body, especially in the golden era where hamstrings were not necessarily the focal point, especially from the back, it's very clear to see why Frank Zane had held the importance of calf training so highly, because it is clear, they just come out when properly developed. You can clearly see why they are so important. Now, reading directly from his 1976 booklets, he writes that calves are the most important muscle group of the lower body because it's this area that the eyes notice first, as mentioned previously. It is good calf development that completes the symmetrical look to the body. And this is what I really like about this section of this paragraph, is that when you look at the delts and the waist, the calves really complete the package. And this is very obvious when we look at these photos here of an early Frank Zane and a much more developed and finished Frank Zane, right? We can see, and he's actually mentioned in other books and booklets that I've read, especially when he talks about his thigh development, that he used to have very heavy thigh to calf proportions. His thighs were out of proportion to his calves, and it's very obvious in this first image where his calves look tiny. But he later focused on developing his thighs in terms of shape and symmetry and actually growing the size of his calves. And then, when we look at his tiny waist, his wide, broad delts, and those calves, we have this wonderful, proportionate physique, very symmetrical, very aesthetic, very pleasing to look at. Now, the one thing that he focuses on in calf development is especially the diamond shape. And with this diamond shape, he says it's a magical shape, this magical diamond shape. Once you acquire this, will you truly possess great leg development. Now, like many bodybuilders, they all say that diamonds, that is calves, are a bodybuilder's best friends. The way to get there is to train them hard and heavy. And Frank Zane's tips are very similar to, for example, Vince Gironda's. I really do think that his principles are very similar, especially in calf training. Like Vince, he actually states that a full range of motion is necessary, and this means going all the way down as low as possible on the calf block, and on rising, the pressure of the movement of the exercise in particular should be on the first two toes at the top. This is exactly the same as Vince Gironda's teachings, and the only way to actually do this is to have the toes pointing out. Now, I plan to actually do a demonstration video on a seated calf raise machine. It doesn't really matter what machine or exercise you're doing for calves, as long as your toes are pointing outwards. What you'll end up doing is putting pressure on the first two toes at the very top of the movement, and this is very important for inner calf development. And this is the key to diamond calves. The inner head is the development of the inner head is absolutely necessary. Unlike today's bodybuilders that focus on just an enormous slab of meat for a calf development, no, the inner head should be definitely developed more so than the lateral or outer heads of the calf. And in order to bring the calf out even more, the soleus should be developed using heavy weight. Now, in the old days, Frank Zane actually used to use the calf raise machine quite a lot, but more recently I've just read his calf development booklet, his recent one, which is available on frankzane.com, and he actually mostly just uses it for warm-up mainly because it compresses the spine quite a lot. And I have to agree with him. When you stack on, about 200 kg, the compression on the spine and on the shoulders is quite amazing. And anyway, it was one that he used previously earlier in his career, and now uses a lot less. But it is a great calf builder. The seated calf raise machine mainly works the soleus, because when the knees are bent, the soleus, which is the inner part of the calf, an inner muscle, is actually worked more so than the gastrocnemius, which sits on the outside of the calf. Now, donkey calf raises are a very common exercise used in the golden era. We've seen photos of Arnold doing them with 2 or 3 people stacked on his lower back. Here we have Frank Zane doing donkey calf raises. Again, a very good size builder. And as you can see, he keeps his knees slightly unlocked. This is an actual scan from my original 1976 booklet just for you. Now, with donkey calf raises, actually, in reading his booklet, his recent booklet again on building your calves, available at frankzane.com, he actually talks about how he put his wife and extra poundage for a total of over 500 pounds for his 1978, I believe, contest preparation. That's incredible amount of weight for the donkey calf raise, and again, very reminiscent of what Arnold used to do with having 2 or 3 people on his back. So it is a great mass builder, but he does warn that with such heavy poundage, it does hurt the ankles quite a bit. Now, Frank Zane actually recommends the use of the one-legged calf raise as a finisher because it gives a terrific pump after doing heavier movements. So you may want to also give it a try. Now, one of the secrets that I've actually gathered from his booklet, Build Your Calves, and his 1976 Calves, the Focal Points of the Lower Body booklet, is that burns, the practice of burns, those partial reps at the end of every set, are very important. That's the real secret towards Frank Zane's calf development, at least as he puts it. This is what really stimulates calf growth. These are these half or partial movements, and they can be performed at the end of any calf exercise. So the process is to first do your set. Let's say you're doing 3 sets of 15 reps and you've just completed your first set. You would then work into the burn, and you'd basically do as many as possible in this first set, and then you would repeat the process over your 3 sets of let's say calf raises or whatever you're doing, right? Now he goes into great detail in Build Your Calves, which is again his recent booklet available on his website, and he actually categorizes the burns as 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree, which I find quite funny. But basically, this categorization describes the level of progressive advancement in actually working into burns. And I don't want to give it all away, but I do encourage you to buy this booklet. It's only 10 or 12 bucks, very cheap, and I think you learn quite a lot from this booklet, Build Your Calves. But basically, the secret to his calf training is to do your exercise and then go straight into burns after that, and basically increase your ability to go past the pain barrier to build your calves up. It's a very intelligent method, I have to admit, for calf training. He also gives in his recent booklet some very interesting tips, such as skipping rope or the use of the leg press machine, as Reg Park taught him. And this kind of reminds me of all these other, I guess, secrets or tips from the greats. I mean, Larry Scott, at the end of his workouts from reading Loaded Guns, used to, for example, grab some dumbbells and go outside of Vince's gym and do walks on his tiptoes to really burn the living daylights out of his calves. So it really is working past the pain barrier to truly accelerate growth in the calves. That is the real secret. It's amazing stuff when you read all these books. So here I leave you with a final photo of Frank Zane's transformation that took him 19 years. And again, you can read about this in his booklet, Build Your Calves. It took him 19 years to go from an average calf development, which you can see on your left, to his amazing diamond-shaped calves at age 37. So from age 18 to age 37, the change is rather dramatic. It's very impressive. And yeah, I mean, the thighs have, if you look at the thighs, they've improved a little bit, but those calves improved massively, and they're very, very impressive to look at. And I can understand why he always says now that calves truly are the focal points of the lower body. They are very impressive. When you see a person walking around in shorts, you don't look at their thighs, you look at those calves, and if they're huge like melons, you go, wow, my God, they're enormous calves. So I mean, I love, I wish I had massive calves myself. But yeah, the calves are, I do believe as well, just like Frank Zane says, are truly the focal points of the lower body, just like the arms are in the upper body. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know your comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the Golden Era Bookworm. Thank you for watching this video. And this is the Golden Era Bookworm, so bye for now.